An update on the reaction to CM Punk visiting Impact Wrestling's latest set of television tapings in Chicago, Illinois, plus a big steel cage match has been announced between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega for an upcoming episode of AEW Dynamite next month. The firm deletion finally has a date. It's going to be taking place next week on AEW Rampage. Samoa Joe, the first look at him in the upcoming Peacock series Twisted Metal. Newest AEW signing Commander might be out of action with an injury. Details on what he may have suffered. A TNT title match has been announced for an upcoming House Rules show. Jim Ross addresses how he would have handled the Brawl Out situation. Britt Baker responds to complaints and maybe skepticism about her controversial new bit of merchandise. Goldbergs' first post-WWE booking has been revealed. Stokely Hathaway also opens up about why it didn't work out between himself and Jade Cargill. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. Let's start off talking about none other than CM Punk. We spoke about this late last night. As previously reported, CM Punk followed up by his shocking appearance backstage at Monday Night Raw by also showing up behind the scenes at the April 29 Impact Wrestling set of television tapings in Chicago. While Punk has certainly had an eventful week compared to his Raw appearance, his presence at Impact seems to have been far better received backstage. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Punk was welcomed at Impact, being brought through by security, even by numerous fans. Fightful sources indicated that Punk spent time backstage mingling with talent and posing for pictures. He was said to be in a good mood at the taping. Impact Wrestling star Jordan Grace would upload a photo on Twitter of herself and Punk backstage at the Chicago tapings with the caption, quote, "Never know who's going to show up at Impact Wrestling at CM Punk." That picture you can see on the screen right now. One half of the legendary Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton, also uploaded a picture of himself and Punk backstage at the tapings, tweeting out, quote, So great to see my friend CM Punk. What a great time this weekend. Genuinely love what I get to do and be a part of, which is my passion, professional wrestling. Despite Punk's appearances backstage for WWE and Impact, he is expected to be making his return to AEW in the summer, with the June 17 AEW show from Chicago's United Center reportedly the location for not only Punk's return, but also the debut of AEW's new Saturday wrestling program, AEW Collision. While no official announcement has been made regarding AEW Collision, it has been reported that the introduction of the new show will see AEW undergo a brand split of some form. Other names rumored to be joining Punk on Saturday nights are FTR and Chris Jericho, who Punk recently reportedly had a meeting with to discuss potential creative plans upon his return to AEW television. So there you go, CM Punk backstage at another pro wrestling show this week in Chicago. Let's switch gears here and talk about AEW Dynamite. For weeks, the Elites have been knee-deep in a feud with the Blackpool Combat Club. And on May 10, on AEW Dynamite, things are certain to get ugly with the official announcement that Kenny Omega will battle Jon Moxley inside of a steel cage. This comes after Omega's post-show promo following Dynamite this past Wednesday, where he called the BCC cowards for brutally attacking and then fleeing from the Elite's newest ally, Konosuke Takeshita. Last Wednesday, Omega got on the microphone to say, quote, "Hey Tony, instead of letting the inmates run the asylum for a change, how about you lock these guys where they can't run, where they can't hide, and you take on me?" That led to speculation over a potential blood and guts matchup between the two factions. That still may well end up happening sometime down the line, but for now, Omega will have to settle for Moxley and Moxley alone inside of a steel cage. Omega can take solace from the fact that there will be nowhere to run for Moxley come May 10, though it's hard to imagine that a steel cage will be enough to keep these two stables apart. Meanwhile, if blood and guts matchup were to come together, the Elite have the compiled numbers to rival the BCC's Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, and Moxley, with the addition of Takeshita. However, Matt Jackson's availability may be in doubt as he continues to recover from a recent arm injury at the hands of the BCC. Hangman Adam Page has also been involved in the feud, but not in an official capacity, but he could certainly maybe in the future. Now, another big match that has been announced is the firm deletion, Jeff Hardy's return to a wrestling match Kind of. Matt Hardy's return to the cinematic ring is confirmed to be happening on next week's AEW Rampage. The match, titled The Firm Deletion, will be a cinematic match at the Hardy compound. Matt will be teaming up with his recently returned brother Jeff, as well as Hook and Isaiah Cassidy. The Hardy's team will be facing Stokely, Hathaway, Lee Moriarty, Ethan Page, and Big Bill. Next Friday's Rampage is also set to air at an earlier time of 5:30 p.m. Eastern. The Firm Deletion looks to be the conclusion to Matt's ongoing conflict with the Firm, which is a further extension of his quest to gain Private Party's freedom. He originally sought to get Private Party separated from Andrade, El Idolo, and Rush after the Hardy family office became the Andrade family office. In October, the Firm came into possession of Private Party's contracts and Matt's as well, after a match putting their contracts on the line. Private Party's contracts with the Firm will once again be on the line in the Firm Deletion, where if Hardy's team wins, Private Party will be free from the Firm. The match was made after Hardy pulled one over on Page after his FTW title match against Hook. Matt's cinematic matches are the subject of much fan acclaim, stretching back to the final Deletion match in Impact Wrestling between himself and his brother Jeff. The popularity of the Broken Universe brought many eyes back to Impact and led to the Hardys certainly rise once again in popularity when they left the company. The idea even followed Matt into WWE with the Woken Universe at his Ultimate Deletion match against Bray Wyatt. However, Matt has said that this latest deletion will not be like those past presentations, so keep an eye out on that for next Friday's edition of Rampage. Samoa Joe is back on Peacock, but not under the WWE umbrella. Peacock has released its first look at the new Twisted Metal TV series, which will feature AEW star Samoa Joe in a supporting role. The NBC streaming service recently released a trailer for the series on Friday, which features Joe, Anthony Mackie, Stephanie Beatrice, Thomas Hayden Church, and more. Peacock describes Twisted Metal as a half-hour live-action TV series based on the classic PlayStation game series that is about a motor-mouthed outsider offering a chance at a better life, but only if he can successfully deliver a mysterious package across a post-apocalyptic wasteland. The first trailer for the upcoming show, scheduled to premiere on the service on July 27, shows a clip of Mackie driving a car and shooting guns down a desolate roadway, while Len's 1999 hit Steal My Sunshine plays over the vehicle's stereo system. After a teased ending, the trailer fades back in and also gives fans their first look at Joe, who plays the character Sweet Tooth. Joe will play Sweet Tooth in appearance only, as Will Arnett is set to voice the character. Arnett was announced as the voice of the rage-filled killer clown last July, according to Variety. The upcoming Peacock series marks the first on-screen television role for Joe outside of professional wrestling. The former WWE and TNA mainstay has also lent his voice to several video games in the past, but has yet to step in front of the camera on set. So as you can tell, you can quite clearly tell that that's Samoa Joe. So it's going to be really interesting to see Joe on the small screen. Now, Commander's just signed a contract with Impact Wrestling, with AEW, rather, but he might be injured. As reported by Post Wrestling's John Pollock, AEW star Commander would favor his knee after performing a moonsault in his three-way match against Gringo Loco and Ares. Following the maneuver, the 24-year-old was taken back and would not return to action for the remainder of its duration. That was at this Demand Lucha event in Toronto, Canada this past weekend. This was seconded by a Reddit user who stated that Commander did in fact attempt to return to action following the move. However, he would be limping badly and would be unable to continue. In a cruel twist of fate, Commander's participation in the match was seemingly off the cards prior to the event, with Demand Lucha stating on April 10 that the new AEW signee would not be able to compete due to unforeseen travel complication. Commander would then appear to the surprise of the Toronto crowd moments prior to the opening bell. Following various eye-catching performances for both AEW and Ring of Honor, Tony Khan officially announced that Commander had signed with the promotion on April 19. Of course, we wish him the best in his recovery from this seemingly bad injury. A TNT title match is going to be taking place if you're attending a House Rule show in the future. It was announced on Saturday morning that Wardlow will be defending his TNT Championship against the firm's Lee Moriarty at AEW House Rules on May 13. The event will be taking place at the Salem Civic Center in Salem, Virginia. Wardlow has been the TNT Champion since he defeated Powerhouse Hobbs on the April 19 edition of AEW Dynamite. He is yet to defend the title, though he last competed on the April 29 edition of AEW Dynamite, where he defeated Ariel Levy. Wardlow is currently in his third reign as TNT champion. His first reign was between July 2022 and November of that year, while his second lasted only 3 days between March 5th and March 8th. Moriarty has yet to win gold in AEW. His last AEW match was on the April 7 episode of Rampage, where he lost to Darby Allin. As of late, Moriarty has been wrestling for Ring of Honor. This past Thursday's episode of ROH on Honor Club, he defeated Rocky Romero, and after the match, Romero issued a rematch for next week's episode, and it will be a Pure Rules match. House Rules are AEW's non-televised live events, which the first one was on Saturday, March 18 at the Hobart Arena in Troy, Ohio. Moriarty was at the first show where he teamed with Big Bill and lost to the Blackpool Combat Club's Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli. While at the time of the event, the TNT champion was Hobbs, and he successfully defended the title against Christopher Daniels. Let's switch gears here and talk about how Jim Ross would have handled Brawl Out. Certainly still a controversial topic, definitely so. Speaking on his Grilling JR podcast, WWE Hall of Famer and current AEW announcer Jim Ross discussed the situation and how he would have handled the situation if it happened while he was head of talent relations in WWE. He said, quote, "My protocol would be get all involved parties into a room and settle it as quickly as soon after it's happened as you possibly could and communicate. That's hard to do. Sometimes guys have their feelings hurt or they're angry or they feel like they have an issue. I'd say, getting the crew together that's involved in this atrocity is what I would try to accomplish and talk it out. Talk it out and keep cooler heads should prevail and communicate. As simple as that. Boils down to that, quite frankly, and at the end of the day, how do we all communicate on this matter? You want to do it while it's still hot. You want to do it while it's still fresh in everybody's mind and let people express themselves in a civil and professional way. Because Bill Watts told me years ago, there's more than one right way to do a wrestling angle or a storyline, and I believe that. So, everyone's got their cause. Everyone's got their reasons for doing what they did, whether the results are right on the money or not, or what have you. I don't know. It's in the individual who's looking at it. You got to communicate. You got to get everybody together and communicate. And when you leave, hopefully you'll have a resolve. Hopefully you'll have people prioritizing the company first. If any of those issues occur that you didn't promote the company and make it better for the company, then you're on the wrong road. The company has to come first. I said this many times to talents. We have to take care of the goose because this goose that we have access to lays golden eggs that we deposit in the bank. So to me, that's the bottom line. Communication is the key thing, and doing so in a timely basis is also important. And do you agree with what Jim Ross says and how he would have handled the situation? Now, this is such a strange story. It's a story that's generated a lot of criticism on social media. So, on the April 19 episode of AEW Dynamite, Britt Baker was the victim of an attack by Saraya, Toni Storm, and Ruby Soho of the Outcasts, orchestrated by Chris Jericho, who had Adam Cole handcuffed to the ropes while it all unfolded. After the show, Baker shared an image of her black eye from the segment on Twitter, which the Outcasts later turned into a t-shirt that they wore on AEW television. AEW has now since released the shirt on shopaew.com, which Baker advertised on her Twitter account. The shirt design has received a lot of backlash from fans for allegedly promoting domestic violence, as the shirt simply features a photo of Britt with a black eye and nothing else. Baker responded to a fan who disapproved of the design, stating, quote, "Supports domestic violence how? I got a black eye in the ring. My enemies put a pic on a shirt to troll me, and I outsmarted them. Does that mean all the top-selling bloody t-shirts are supporting murder? If a male wrestler had a shirt with a black eye, would you be this pissed?" Baker also cited previous shirts that were released by AEW, such as her original role model t-shirt, which featured her bloody face from the Lights Out match against Thunder Rosa too. Where do you sit on this issue? Do you agree with the fan or do you agree with Britt Baker? What are your thoughts on that? Goldberg, there's quite a lot of speculation about Goldberg's future. Goldberg has spoken about his plans following his departure from WWE, with him saying he was leaning towards doing a retirement tour. Several promotions have reached out to Goldberg for a potential in-ring appearance, including one in Israel, but we now know when his next appearance will be, that it won't be in wrestling. WWE Hall of Famer Diamond Dallas Page shared an advertisement for this coming weekend's For the Love of Wrestling event in Manchester, England, that actually takes place, as I mentioned, Saturday and Sunday. The poster features the former WCW heavyweight champions listing Goldberg alongside DDP, Booker T, Kevin Nash, and Paul White, that being the big show. There has been a lot of speculation about Goldberg potentially signing with AEW following his WWE departure, with Tony Khan calling his free agency, quote, interesting. So, do you think Goldberg could end up in AEW? Is that something you'd like to see? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below. Finally, Stokely Hathaway has seemingly found his niche with the firm. At one point, though, he was paired with Jade Cargill. Stokely Hathaway, formerly known as Malcolm Bivens, was released from WWE in April of last year. He went on to make his AEW debut at Double or Nothing, where he aligned with TBS champion Jade Cargill. Despite becoming the publicist for Cargill, Hathaway would quietly move on from the TBS champion and form the firm following AEW All Outs later on that year. In a new interview with Talk Is Jericho, Stokely Hathaway discussed the plans for his pairing with Jade Cargill. He stated, quote, "It's interesting because a lot of people thought that Jade and I was this long-term plan. The idea, and I take a lot of responsibility for it, it wasn't really conveyed the fact that when I was with Jade, the idea that I was a con artist, like I was a scammer. I was using everyone to get this position in the firm. Obviously, after All Out, plans changed. The Jade storyline was actually the beginning of the next chapter." Earlier in the interview, Hathaway also revealed how he got into All Elite Wrestling following his WWE release. He said, quote, "I was available. Dax is one of my good friends, so we were talking back and forth. He sent me a screenshot because he was having a conversation with Tony. The screenshot was Tony being like, 'Let's go,' in all caps with like 37 exclamation marks. That was the beginning of talks of me coming in. We didn't meet face to face until I would say Double or Nothing. I was backstage. I debuted. It was a handshake deal, and it became official a few hours after that." So that's how Stokely Hathaway came into AEW. But there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.